I stood in the middle of my living room, or at least what used to be my living room. The couch? Gone. The TV? Gone. Even the curtains, the rug, and the framed photos on the wall? Gone. She left nothing behind. Not even a note. Well, almost nothing. There was one thing she didn't realize she'd taken with her. An old AirTag, clipped deep inside her favorite suitcase. It was a little experiment I used to run years ago when I sold smart home devices. She always used that bag for trips. And when she left me, she took it with her, right along with half the house. My name is Daniel Price. I'm 41 years old, and I live just outside Atlanta, Georgia. I run a small home security business. Motion sensors, smart locks, remote cams, that kind of thing. I've been doing it for over a decade. You'd think someone like me would be hard to rob, that someone in my field would never get blindsided. But love makes you turn your back to the door. And when that door finally slams behind you, you realize just how stupid the trust made you. Melissa, my wife of 8 years, walked out of my life with everything we'd built together. Furniture, electronics, financial records, our dog's crate. She didn't tell me she was leaving. She waited until I was away on a business trip. 3 states away. No cell service. No warning. The neighbors said a moving truck showed up around noon. She had help. Not from her family, not from friends I knew, at least. But I didn't break down when I walked into that empty house. I didn't scream, or cry, or punch a wall. I just stood there, breathing, watching. And then I opened the app on my phone. It pinged. There she was, still moving, suitcase in tow, in a city she'd never even mentioned to me. That one tiny tag. It was like the world's most accidental confession. I wasn't looking for revenge that day. I wasn't even sure what I wanted. But as I watched her drive further and further away, with my furniture, with my name still on the mortgage, a strange kind of calm settled over me. Because she thought she'd disappeared. She thought she'd erased me. But what she didn't know, I was tracking every mile she moved. And it was only a matter of time before I used it all, every signal, every sale, every lie, against her. Build emotional investment, show a stable life, drop a few subtle red flags, end with soft emotional disconnection. Melissa wasn't just my wife. She was my partner in every sense of the word. We met at a small tech expo in Charleston. I was giving a free demo on motion sensor installations. She was helping a friend run a booth for sustainable kitchenware. She wasn't impressed with my sales pitch, but she liked how I offered her my last cup of coffee from the break room. That's how it started. Not with sparks, but with comfort. 6 months later, we moved in together. By the end of that year, we were married. We didn't have a perfect life, but it was quiet, stable. Ours. I ran the business. She handled the books, the scheduling, even helped design our company website. We were a team. She'd bring me lunch when I was on long installs, send me voice notes with grocery reminders. She made the house feel alive. Melissa was calm, graceful, and could read a room like a psychologist. Everyone loved her. And I did too, without question. We didn't go out much. Just weekend takeout, grocery runs, and an occasional movie on the couch. That couch she eventually took, by the way. Our dog, Riley, adored her. He'd jump onto her lap every time she sat down. Sometimes I'd walk in and find them both asleep, her hand resting on his head, a quiet smile on her face. For a while, it really felt like we were building something lasting. We talked about kids, but agreed to wait. We had dreams of taking a road trip from Georgia to the Pacific Northwest. Just us, Riley, and an RV. It wasn't glamorous, but it was enough. Looking back, there were signs. Little ones. The first time I noticed something was off, it was subtle. She stopped checking in when I worked late. Used to be, she'd call and say, "Don't stay out too long, babe." Then one day, that just stopped. She started sleeping with her phone screen facing down. It buzzed a lot, but she'd never pick it up when I was in the room. I asked once, jokingly, if she was cheating on me with Grubhub. She laughed, but didn't look up from her laptop. Then there were the weekend wellness retreats she suddenly started attending. She said it helped her reset her mental health. I supported her, even drove her to one. But every time she came back, she was a little more distant. I told myself it was just stress. The business was steady, but life wasn't always easy. We had bills, maintenance issues, a few bad months financially. Still, she never complained. If anything, she became too quiet. She stopped asking me how my day was. She stopped sending those silly dog pictures she used to take when I was working. One night, I made her favorite pasta, the one with the caramelized onions and sun-dried tomatoes. She barely touched it. Said she wasn't hungry. Went to bed early. Phone screen lit up as she turned over. That was the first time I felt something snap in my gut. I didn't say anything. Didn't accuse her. Didn't snoop. But that night, as I lay beside her, staring at the ceiling, a thought crept into my mind. Not that she was cheating. Not that she was planning to leave. But something colder. That maybe she had already left. Emotionally, mentally, she was already gone. The house was still full. The dog still barked at the front door. The light still flickered in the hallway like always. But the warmth was gone. There was no us anymore. Just two people existing in parallel lines. Sleeping under the same roof, but living on different planets. She used to call me her hero. Then one day, without warning, she stopped calling me anything at all. They say if you boil a frog slowly, it won't jump out of the pot. That's what it felt like. Little changes. Barely noticeable at first. But I wasn't the man I was in my 20s. I wasn't naive. I just chose to ignore what I already knew. Melissa's mood swings became more frequent. Some mornings, she'd be warm, almost like old times. Other mornings, she'd barely acknowledge me. When I'd ask what was wrong, she'd say, "I just need space. You're always hovering." I wasn't hovering. I was trying. I offered to take her out. Date night, movie, anything. She'd say she was too tired. Or that she had yoga. But her gym bag never smelled like sweat anymore. No towel. No receipts. No water bottle. Just perfectly folded clothes. She started carrying her charger everywhere. Kept her phone screen brightness low. And the passcode? Changed twice. I only noticed because once, while helping her move some boxes, her phone pinged. A message flashed on screen before fading. "Can't wait till it's just us." Face-blowing kiss. I froze. She saw me looking, and snatched the phone off the counter so fast it made my stomach drop. "It's just one of the girls. Private stuff." She said it so casually, like she'd rehearsed it. I nodded. Said nothing. Pretended I believed her. But that night, I sat in my home office with a notebook and wrote one sentence. Start watching. I didn't install any spy software. Didn't break into her accounts. But I did set up my old iPad. The one still connected to our shared iCloud account. She'd forgotten it even existed. The moment I opened it, I saw everything. Her photo backups. Her shared notes. Her real location. She wasn't going to yoga. She was going to a one-bedroom condo 15 minutes from downtown. The same place, every week. Same time. Same nights I worked late. The texts weren't explicit. She was careful. But I knew what I was reading. There was affection in her tone, just not the kind you give a friend. I took screenshots. Every message. Every location ping. Every picture she unknowingly uploaded to the cloud. There was one of her sitting on a kitchen counter, legs dangling, wearing a hoodie I didn't recognize. A man's hoodie. Her smile in that photo? It wasn't the smile I hadn't seen in months. It was brighter. Freer. As if I'd never existed at all. Still, I said nothing. I'd come home. Smile. Eat dinner. Ask her how yoga was. She'd lie, and I'd let her. Because now, I had something more powerful than confrontation. I had data. It got worse. I started seeing our joint account drain faster. Large ATM withdrawals in neighborhoods we never visited. Cash apps I'd never heard of. She'd gotten good at hiding it. But she forgot what I did for a living. Every motion sensor, every indoor camera, every router log. I'd installed all of it myself. I knew how to track behavior. And what I was seeing was the digital footprint of someone preparing to leave. She was deleting old emails, canceling memberships in her name, changing mailing addresses on bills without telling me. She wasn't just cheating. She was erasing herself, one breadcrumb at a time. Then came the moment that confirmed everything. I got home from a job at around midnight. She was asleep, supposedly, but her phone buzzed. I was across the room, but I saw the lock screen light up. 2:07 a.m. He's asleep. I miss you. That was it. I stood there in the dark, just breathing. Her back was turned. She didn't know I saw it. I didn't wake her. Didn't ask questions. I went downstairs, poured myself a glass of water, and made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her. I was going to document her. Track every move. Every lie. I'd play dumb on the outside. But on the inside, I was already building the case. I stayed silent. But I started watching. And that decision was the reason I caught her red-handed the night she tried to vanish. It was a Thursday. I'd just gotten home from a long install in Peachtree City. Sweat-soaked shirt, toolbox in the trunk, sunburn on my neck. Melissa wasn't home. She'd said she was at a team-building dinner with a wellness crew. Some weekend retreat friends she'd gotten close with. I didn't question it. Not out loud. But before leaving work that day, I'd activated the AirTag I'd hidden months earlier, inside her old black travel suitcase. The one with the busted wheel she never threw out. She'd used that bag a few times recently. I'd noticed it missing from the closet. Figured she might have packed for an overnight. Back at home, I poured a glass of water and sat on the couch, alone. Riley, our dog, curled up next to me like he could sense something was off. I opened the Find My app. There it was. Ping. Her bag. Not at a hotel. Not at a spa. It was sitting in a third-floor apartment unit, an address I didn't recognize. The location history told me she'd been there 5 times in the last 2 weeks. I zoomed in. Screenshots. Timestamped. Stored. Still, I wasn't convinced. Part of me wanted to believe it was all a misunderstanding. Some innocent explanation. A friend in crisis. a borrowed apartment. But then, iCloud AutoSync delivered the final blow. At exactly 11:38 p.m., a new photo uploaded. Melissa, in a dimly lit kitchen, wearing a shirt I'd never seen, hair tied up, no makeup, smiling. Behind her, a man, shirtless, holding her waist, his face close to her neck. There was no mistake, no context that could explain it away. I felt something cold settle in my chest. Not anger, not even pain, just silence, like someone had hit mute on the world. I closed the iPad, sat still for a few minutes. My pulse slowed, breathing evened out. Then I walked upstairs, opened my safe. Inside, I had a separate flash drive, something I used for sensitive business contracts. I plugged it in and began copying the evidence. Every photo, every text, every GPS location log, screenshots, notes, banking activity, timestamped, organized, stored in folders named with dates. I wasn't crying. I wasn't shaking. I was working. At exactly 12:12 a.m., Melissa walked through the front door. Hair perfect. Clothes freshly steamed. Not a wrinkle in sight. She smiled and said, "Hey, babe, sorry I ran late. You up?" I nodded. "Yeah, just finishing some work." She walked right past me, kissed Riley on the head, and for the first time, I realized she had no idea that she had already lost. I didn't confront her that night. I didn't touch her phone. I didn't ask questions, because I wasn't curious anymore. I knew. And now, I was planning. From the outside, nothing changed. We still ate dinner at the same table. Still walked Riley together on Sundays. Still shared a Netflix password. But I'd stopped seeing Melissa as my wife. Now, she was a subject under surveillance. And I was collecting evidence, not emotions. First thing I did was lock down my business. She had access to our scheduling software, invoice backups, even the business checking account. I created a separate admin profile, then quietly revoked her permissions. I changed the bank login, switched two-factor auth to my personal number, and rerouted all company emails through a fresh domain. She didn't even notice. She was too distracted with whatever fake world she was living in. Then I moved on to the finances. She'd always handled the day-to-day budgeting, but she'd gotten sloppy lately. ATM withdrawals in cash-only neighborhoods. Weird Venmo payments labeled wellness consultant. Amazon packages I never saw delivered. I set up a personal expense log. Every charge she made on our joint card, screenshotted, categorized, and cross-referenced with her GPS location. In 2 weeks, I tracked over $4,000 she'd spent without a word. Clothing stores, wine delivery, Uber rides, never to our house. All logged. Next came the real prep, legal protection. I contacted an attorney through a friend in the business. No big law firm. Just a sharp, no-nonsense divorce specialist with a specialty in financial infidelity and asset protection. She told me 2 things in our first call. Document everything. Do not confront her. Let her dig her own grave. So I did exactly that. I built a secure offline drive and began uploading the full timeline. Her texts, her GPS logs from the AirTag, screenshots of her conversations, expense reports, audio files from our home assistant system. Yes, I'd enabled history mode months ago. Every time she said, "I love you," to me, I had a recording. Every time she came back from that apartment, I had a timestamp. The more I gathered, the more disturbing the pattern became. Melissa wasn't just cheating. She was actively moving things out of our life, piece by piece. I noticed small valuables missing. The antique watch from my grandfather? Gone. My backup laptop? Missing. Even my camera lenses? Gone. She was selling things. Quietly. One night, while she showered, I logged into her browser history from our shared iCloud. She'd made over 22 listings on Facebook Marketplace and OfferUp. Half of them were my belongings. So I did something she never saw coming. I posed as a buyer. Used a fake profile. Messaged her through the app, inquiring about a set of speakers she was selling. She replied within minutes. Even sent a photo. They were mine. The price? Laughable. $120 for a high-end surround system. I took screenshots. Sent them straight to my attorney. Now it was time for insurance. I installed a silent surveillance cam in the garage. Another one in the living room. Battery-powered, motion-triggered, cloud-synced. She never noticed. Why would she? She thought I was still blind. I even installed a location tripwire. Every time her phone left that downtown apartment and returned home, I got a ping. I watched it in real time. She'd laugh with him, then come home and kiss me goodnight. But the hardest part? Pretending I still cared. Sitting across from her at dinner, listening to her talk about self-care and emotional boundaries, knowing she was lying through her teeth. She once asked me, "Do you ever feel like you've outgrown the life you built?" I looked her dead in the eye and said, "No. I still think it's worth protecting." She smiled, like I'd said something sweet. But inside, I had already finished the war. She thought I'd never fight back. That I was too soft, too trusting. But she forgot. I've been trained to win wars without raising my voice. And every day she smiled in my face. She handed me one more nail for her coffin. Melissa didn't know it yet, but the game was over. Every smile she flashed, every fake excuse she gave, every hug she offered while hiding someone else's name in her texts. It was all over. My attorney filed the paperwork the following Monday. Grounds: marital misconduct, financial concealment, civil theft. I froze the joint accounts that afternoon, closed the business credit cards, and ordered new ones in my name only. Transferred my business domain to a legal trust under the LLC. That night, Melissa walked in like nothing had changed. Gave me a kiss on the cheek. Tossed her purse on the counter. Said, "I'm thinking of going on another retreat next weekend. Just me and the girls." I looked up from my laptop and said, "Sounds good." And that was the last lie she ever told me under my roof. 2 days later, the process server rang the doorbell. Melissa answered the door in yoga pants, holding a smoothie. I was sitting on the couch with Riley sipping coffee. She opened the envelope, thinking it was another Amazon package. Then I watched her face drain of color. Inside, full divorce petition, motion to freeze assets, civil theft report, subpoena notice, and a separate envelope from my lawyer labeled, evidence enclosed. She turned to me and said, "What is this?" I didn't blink. "It's everything you didn't think I saw." That night, she didn't sleep upstairs. She paced the living room until 3 a.m. Cried, called someone, screamed into a pillow. I didn't comfort her. I didn't offer tissues. I just turned on the white noise machine and slept like a baby. The court date was scheduled 2 weeks out. In that time, I built my final war room, printed every piece of evidence, full binders, GPS logs from the AirTag, messages pulled from CloudSync, screenshots of marketplace listings, receipts showing stolen goods sold, financial records proving she drained joint funds, photos of her and the other man, time-stamped, geolocated, irrefutable. I even had metadata on the selfies she'd taken in his apartment. Time, date, GPS coordinates. She'd unknowingly documented her betrayal with the precision of a forensic analyst. Courtroom day. She showed up in a gray blazer, hair curled, makeup flawless. She brought a lawyer, young, nervous, clearly underprepared. My attorney? Stone-faced, calm, files stacked in military formation. Melissa tried to play victim. Told the judge I was emotionally distant, that I made her feel invisible, that I'd set traps to manipulate her. The judge didn't blink. My attorney stood, opened one binder, and said, "Your Honor, let's begin with Exhibit A, the defendant's exact movements on February 9th. What followed was surgical. Photo. Ping. Message. Bank transaction. Audio clip. Her face crumbled in slow motion. The moment that truly ended it, the court played an audio file. A casual conversation between her and the other man, recorded by our smart home speaker when they thought no one was listening. She was laughing, calling me boring, predictable, saying I'd never have the guts to leave her. The courtroom went silent. Even her lawyer looked at her sideways. The judge didn't take long. Melissa was found guilty of asset concealment and civil theft. She'd lost claim to the house, lost her share of my business, was ordered to repay over $37,000 in damages. I kept everything. The house, the accounts. Riley. She walked out with a purse, a shattered reputation, and one warning from the judge. Next time you commit fraud, be smart enough not to upload the evidence to your own cloud. Outside the courtroom, she tried to talk to me, tears in her eyes, voice trembling. Daniel, I didn't think you'd actually. I cut her off, calmly. You didn't think at all. And that's what cost you everything. Then I turned around and walked away. She thought I was weak. She thought I was blind. She thought she could rob me and vanish. But what she didn't know was, I don't raise my voice. I just raise the evidence. It's been 14 months since that courtroom hearing. The house feels different now. Not just because of the silence, but because of the peace. I repainted the walls, donated the furniture she picked, even replaced the kitchen tile she swore we couldn't afford to change. It doesn't look like our home anymore. And that's a good thing, because it's mine now. Riley still sleeps at the foot of the bed. He's a little older, a little slower. But sometimes, when I wake up early and see him curled up peacefully, I remember what stayed. When everything else walked away, I didn't rush into anything new. Didn't try to fill the space she left with distractions or another woman. Instead, I rebuilt the life I wanted on my terms. I expanded the business, hired a second technician, started offering free security workshops to local nonprofits and single parents. People come in expecting tutorials on motion sensors, but I always spend the first 10 minutes talking about trust, about how you can protect your home all you want. But the real damage? It happens when you stop protecting your peace. I get asked sometimes, mostly by friends, if I'd ever take Melissa back. I smile. Not because it's funny, but because it reminds me how far I've come. The truth is, I don't hate her. I don't wish her pain. I don't hope she fails. Because hate is still a connection. And I've cut that cord completely. She's just gone. Like smoke from a fire that used to burn too close to my lungs. The hardest part wasn't losing her. It was realizing she'd left long before she packed a single box. That I'd been living in an emotional ghost town. And mistaking silence for safety. But once I accepted that, I stopped needing closure. I became it. Sometimes, when I'm locking up at night, I still catch myself double-checking the sensors, the cameras, the deadbolts. Not because I'm afraid someone's coming to take something, but because I respect what I've rebuilt too much to ever lose it again. She took everything, every item, every lie, every part of the life we built. Everything, except my soul. And from that, I rebuilt something better. Not for her. Not for revenge. But for me.